Night settles softly over the ancient lands of Mesoamerica. The jungle stands silent, a living tapestry of green and shadow. But if you listen closely, truly listen, you can almost hear it. The whisper of stone against stone as a temple door swings open. The rustle of feathers as a priest adjusts his headdress. A chant, barely audible, carried on the night breeze to the ears of the gods. We are in the realm of the Maya now, where great cities once rose from the verdant canopy, where time flowed not in simple days and years, but in intricate cycles of celestial dance, and where every carved glyph, every drop of sacrificial blood, every breath drawn in sacred caves held profound cosmic significance. Let us pause for a moment. The night air is thick with the scent of copal incense, and above us the stars wheel in their eternal paths. Long before the conquest, long before the fall, there was balance, there was purpose, a delicate harmony maintained between earth and sky, mortal and divine, kept in motion by those chosen few, the priests of the Maya. But make no mistake, theirs was no easy path of privilege. It was a life of unrelenting devotion, forged in the fires of fasting that left bodies gaunt, bloodletting rituals that scarred flesh, nights spent in sleepless vigil, deciphering the will of capricious gods. These were not mere advisors to kings. They were not warriors who found glory on the battlefield. They were the vital connection between the realm of men and the domain of the divine, and the eyes of the gods were ever upon them. Tonight, we do not simply gaze upon crumbling pyramids with the detached curiosity of tourists. No, on this night, we slip our feet into the well-worn sandals of a Mayan priest. We rise before the sun, when the jungle is still cloaked in mist. We enter shadowed chambers within towering temples, our steps echoing in spaces few have ever seen. We feel the sharp bite of obsidian as we pierce our own flesh in offering, the weight of elaborate headdresses pressing down upon us, the crushing responsibility of maintaining calendars so precise that a single miscalculation could bring divine wrath upon an entire city. This is but the beginning of our journey into the world of those who served as the bridge between earth and sky. A world of astronomical precision and blood-soaked altars, of visionary trances induced by painful rituals and sacred plants, of knowledge passed down through generations in codes we are only beginning to decipher. As the fireflies dance and the nightbirds call, let the modern world fade away. Let the jungle's whispers transport you back through centuries, for in remembering, we bring the past to life once more. Close your eyes, breathe deeply of the rich, loamy air, and listen. For the echoes of a civilization that reached for the stars still resonate, if only we have the patience to hear them. In the coming moments, we will walk the razor's edge between the mundane and the divine. We will glimpse the awesome burden carried by those who interpreted the will of gods, whose appetites were never sated. We will see why the life of a Mayan priest was one few could endure and fewer still would choose. For theirs was a world where time itself was alive, where massive stone pyramids aligned perfectly with celestial events, where kings drew their own blood to feed the cosmos, and where priests held the keys to knowledge that could elevate a city to greatness, or doom it to oblivion. As we delve deeper into this realm of mystery and power, remember, the Maya did not vanish. Their descendants still walk among us, keepers of ancient wisdom, and perhaps, if we listen closely enough, we might yet learn from the whispers of their ancestors, carried to us on the smoke between the stars. So gather close, and let the veil of centuries part, for we are about to step into a world where every action, every breath, held the weight of cosmic significance. A world where a single misstep could bring the wrath of gods, or the fall of kingdoms. This is the story of why you, yes, You would not last a day as a Mayan priest. It is a tale of unimaginable dedication, of knowledge hard-won and jealously guarded, of rituals that would make the bravest warrior tremble. Are you ready to test yourself against the demands of the gods? To measure your resolve against those who communed with forces beyond mortal comprehension? Then let us begin. For the night is young, the stars are watching, and the spirits of the ancient Maya have much to teach us still. The sky has not yet shifted from indigo to blue. The birds are still. The jungle is holding its breath. And you, priest, must rise. There is no bed beneath you, only tightly woven reeds. Your robes, stiff from ash and old sweat, cling to your skin in the morning damp. You reach not for water, not for food, but for copel, the sacred resin that binds this world to the one beyond. It must be burned now. The gods require it before the sun climbs above the trees. If it does not rise with smoke, they may not rise at all. You light the ember from last night's fire. You do not speak. You have not spoken in days. A vow of silence, taken until the moon completes its half. You are not permitted to look others in the eye unless in ritual. All around you, the temple slowly wakes, but the city does not. This is a sacred hour. You begin to chant quietly, repeating syllables passed from your grandfather's grandfather. You chant until your voice becomes the wind, until your spine begins to ache, until you feel the first heat of day touch the back of your neck. You must now fast, not only from food, but from pleasure, from thought, from memory. You are a vessel, nothing more. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. You have not eaten meat in weeks. Your stomach knots, but you ignore it. This pain is sacred. The gods only listen when the voice comes through hunger. Now, it is time for blood. You take the stingray spine from the woven pouch, carefully, reverently. Today, it is your tongue, not your ear, not your thigh. You place the sharp point beneath your tongue and breathe in deeply. There is no scream, only a slow exhale. You pierce, then again, a third time. Blood drips onto bark paper. You fold it carefully, place it in the fire. Watch as it blackens and curls and disappears, carrying your offering to the heavens. The day grows hotter. Your headdress, it is made of brilliant quetzal feathers, but beauty is not comfort. Sweat runs down your back. Your legs are numb from kneeling, but you must remain still. The sun is now directly overhead. The time of the Tizokan, the sacred calendar. You must consult it, interpret it, and speak to the rulers. One miscalculation, and an entire harvest may be cursed. A festival may be held on the wrong day. An Oma misread, a city. You hold the obsidian mirror to the sun. The reflection burns your eyes. You blink once, twice. You look to the glyphs, tracing your finger along each one carved into the stone calendar drum. The sequence is correct, the numbers divine, but still, your hands trembled. There is no room for error. The people trust you. The king trusts you. But fear is your companion. Tonight, you will sleep in the temple, on stone, beneath a roof where bats whisper and gods do not rest. You will not visit your family. You will not smile. Joy is indulgence. Laughter is for festivals. You, priest, must remain sacred. Even in your dreams, you must be vigilant. For it is in dreams that the gods speak clearest, and also where demons wait. Let's pause here for a moment. The wind hums low through the temple corridors, and we breathe slowly in rhythm with the jungle. The weight of your responsibility presses down upon you like the stone blocks of the Great Pyramid. Each day, You carry the fate of your people on your shoulders, the intricate web of rituals, calculations, and sacrifices that maintain the balance between the mortal world and the realm of the gods is your burden alone. As the first rays of sunlight pierce through the jungle canopy, you rise from your stone bed. Your joints ache, a constant reminder of the physical toll your duties exact. But there is no time for the gods are hungry, and they must be fed. You make your way to the temple courtyard, where a group of acolytes awaits. Their eyes are downcast, their bodies tense with anticipation. Today, one of them will be chosen to assist in the most sacred of rituals. You scan their faces, searching for a sign from the gods. Your gaze settles on a young man, barely more than a boy. His hands tremble slightly, but his eyes burn with devotion. You nod once, and he steps forward. The others retreat, a mixture of relief and disappointment on their faces. Together, you and the chosen acolyte ascend the steep steps of the temple. Each step is a prayer, each breath an offering. At the summit, the world stretches out before you, a sea of green jungle, dotted with the grey stone of other temples and palaces, but you have no time to admire the view. The altar awaits, its surface stained dark with the blood of countless sacrifices. You begin the preparations, your movements precise and practiced. The acolyte watches, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. As you work, you recite the ancient prayers, your voice a low murmur that seems to resonate with the very stones of the temple. The acolyte joins in, his voice hesitant at first, but growing stronger as the ritual progresses. The sun climbs higher in the sky, its heat intensifying. Sweat beads on your forehead, but you do not wipe it away. Every drop is an offering to the gods. Finally, the moment arrives. You raise the obsidian knife, its edge gleaming in the harsh sunlight. The acolyte lies on the altar, his chest bare, his eyes fixed on the endless blue sky above. You bring the knife down. The gods are satisfied for now, but their hunger is endless. And tomorrow you must begin again. As you descend the temple steps, the weight of your blood-stained robes seems to increase with each step. The city below bustles with life. Merchants hawking their wares, children playing in the streets, artisans bent over their work. They go about their lives, blissfully unaware of the constant battle you wage to keep their world turning. You make your way to the palace, where the king awaits your report. The guards part before you, their eyes averted. Even they, hardened warriors, fear to look directly at one who speaks with the gods. In the throne room, you kneel before the king. Your voice, hoarse from chanting, delivers the will of the gods. Harvests will be bountiful this year, you say, but the gods demand more temples, more sacrifices. The king nods, his face impassive. He knows, as you do, that the price of divine favor is high. As you leave the palace, the sun begins its descent towards the horizon. But your day is far from over. There are prophecies to interpret, omens to read, rituals to perform. The work of a Mayan priest is never done. Your return to your quarters in the temple complex. A simple meal awaits you. Maize, beans, and water. You eat mechanically, your mind already on the night's tasks. As darkness falls, you prepare for the nightly vigil. You will stand atop the temple, watching the stars wheel overhead, searching for signs and portents. The night air is cool on your skin, a blessed relief after the heat of the day. Hours pass. The city below falls silent, but you remain alert. Every shooting star, every shift in the wind could be a message from the gods. You must not miss a single sign. As the eastern sky begins to lighten, you allow yourself a moment of reflection. This is your life, endless devotion, constant vigilance, unceasing sacrifice. It is a hard life, a lonely life, but it is the life you have chosen, the life the gods have chosen for you. And so, as the new day dawns, you begin again. The sky shifts from indigo to blue. The birds stir, the jungle breathes, and you, priests, must rise. The sun hangs heavy in the sky, directly above the temple spires. Its rays pierce the stone courtyards, making the limestone glow a pale, blinding white. There is no shade, there is no breeze. There is only the sear of the midday heat and the silent motion of a priest continuing his sacred tasks. You have not eaten, you have not sat. The world turns slowly, and your heartbeat matches the rhythm of the temple drum still echoing from the dawn ceremony. This is the hour of prophecy. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In your hands, you hold the painted codex bark pages bound together and lined with glyphs, inked from soot and red pigment. You do not read these pages like a book. You see them, you feel them. Each symbol speaks of a moment to come. A birth, a war, a drought. You must match them to the celestial patterns drawn in the stars. You must do this without doubt, without pride, without fear. The king's son is to be named next week. The day must be auspicious. The omens must align. But Venus is not where she should be. Mars is too close. The full moon will fall on a cursed day. You say nothing. You simply turn the page and calculate again. Still kneeling, you close your eyes and listen. Not for voices, but for silence. The deep kind that comes only when the jungle holds its breath. You are not alone in this world. You are being watched. The gods, yes, but also the dead. The ancestors linger in these courtyards. Their bones rest beneath the temple floor. Their spirits are the breeze that rustles the palm fronds. You must honor them, speak to them, ask their blessing. You sprinkle maize flour into the wind, a soft offering. You hum a melody passed down for 1,000 years, a tune that has no name, only shape. Let's pause here for a moment. The shadows stretch across the temple steps, and the air is warm with memory. But the people begin to gather now. In the plaza below, a family brings an offering. A young quetzal with iridescent feathers meant for sacrifice. A woman with tired eyes seeks a blessing for her sick child. A farmer carries a bowl of cacao beans, his best crop offered to the gods through you. You must not falter. You must not show weakness. You accept the offerings. You perform the rites. You dip your fingers in sacred water perfumed with crushed flowers. You draw a spiral on the child's forehead. You sing. You pray. You chant. Your knees ache. Your voice cracks. But your face remains still. They look to you as if you are already a god. And now, the sacrifice. You do not enjoy this, but you do not question it either. The quetzal is held gently but firmly. Its eyes are wide. You place your hand on its breast, just above the heart. You murmur a goodbye, not to the bird, but to the world it leaves behind. Then the blade, a single drop of blood is enough. You smear it on the altar stone. The gods require life, but only enough to remember we still owe them ours. Let's pause here for a moment. The breeze returns, just slightly, and we listen to it pass through the leaves like the whispers of the ancestors. You return inside the temple. The coolness feels like a second skin. For a moment, you lean against the wall, not from weakness, but from a need to feel something solid. A scroll waits for you in the corner. It arrived this morning from another city. Another priest has written to warn you. A strange eclipse is coming. He has seen signs in the heavens. You unroll it slowly. The glyphs are urgent. They speak of imbalance, of thunder where there should be silence. You know what this means? You will have to climb the temple again tonight, to speak directly with the stars before you can rest. There is one more task. A young boy, perhaps 12, waits for you outside the sacred chamber. His head is shaved. His hands are clean. He is barefoot. He is ... You, years ago. Now, you must train him. You show him how to mix the pigments. Red from cochineal, black from soot, yellow from wildflowers. You explain how each color holds meaning, how no line in a glyph can be crooked, how every brushstroke is a prayer. The boy listens wide-eyed. He does not yet know the weight that awaits him. He does not know what you will one day ask him to do, to pierce his own flesh and smile through the pain. Let's pause here for a moment. The temple grows darker as the sun falls behind the canopy, and we inhale the sweet scent of crushed petals in pigment bowls. And so, as night returns, and torches flicker once more, you do not sleep, you do not feast, you do not rest. Instead, you climb, stone step by stone step, up to the top of the pyramid, up toward the stars. You carry with you only a cloth, a small obsidian blade, and a bowl to catch your own blood. You must greet the stars. You must read them. You must ask them what is coming. Because if the gods are displeased, it is your soul they will claim first. Let's pause here for a moment. The stars blink quietly above, and the jungle exhales its long breath of night. The night air is cool against your skin as you reach the summit. The stone beneath your feet still holds the day's warmth. You breathe deeply, tasting the faint scent of copal incense that lingers from earlier rituals. You unfurl the cloth, spreading it before you. The obsidian blade glints in the moonlight. Your hands do not tremble as you take it up. This is not the first time, nor will it be the last. With practiced precision, you draw the blade across your earlobe. The pain is sharp, but fleeting. Blood wells up, dark and sacred. You let it drip into the waiting bowl, each drop a whispered prayer to the gods above. As you bleed, you begin to chant. The words are ancient, older than the stones of the temple itself. They speak of cycles, of endings and beginnings, of the dance between earth and sky. Your eyes turn upward. The stars wheel overhead, eternal and indifferent. Yet you must find meaning in their patterns. You must translate their cold light into the language of prophecy. Their chalk, the rain god, his axe raised high, and there the path of the celestial canoe, carrying the maize god through the night sky. You trace constellations with your gaze, seeking answers in their alignment. Hours pass. The blood in the bowl grows sticky. Your voice grows hoarse. But still you watch, still you chant, still you seek. As the first hint of dawn touches the eastern horizon, you see it, a flicker, a shift, a star where no star should be. Your breath catches. This is the sign you've been waiting for. This is the message from the gods. With trembling fingers, you reach for a piece of bark paper tucked into your waist. You must record this. You must remember, as you sketch the glyph that will preserve this moment, you know that your work is far from over. The king will want answer, the people will seek guidance, and you must be the bridge between the mortal world and the realm of the divine. You gather your tools. The sky is lightening now, the stars fading one by one. You begin the long descent down the temple steps, your mind already racing with the implications of what you've seen. The day ahead will be long. There will be more rituals, more sacrifices, more supplicants seeking your wisdom. But for now, in this moment between night and day, You allow yourself a small smile, for you have heard the whispers of the gods, and in their celestial dance, you have glimpsed the future of your people. Let's pause here for a moment. The first rays of sunlight touch the treetops, and a new day begins in the heart of the ancient Maya world. It is night now. The city is still. The wind hushes through the jungle trees. Owls call to each other like distant ancestors murmuring in their sleep. You descend the pyramid slowly, barefoot, your feet numb from the climb, your soul heavy with visions. There is no sleep for priests not now. Not on the night of reading, not when the moon is high and the stars wait to be interpreted, not when the gods are awake, and tonight, they are very much awake. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Your destination is not another temple. It is a cave, the Temple of Silence. It is sometimes called, but it is not silent. It breathes, it pulses. The earth here speaks in drips of water, in bats' wings, in echoes that come back changed. To the people, the cave is where ancestors sleep and gods dwell. It is the womb of the world. To you, it is the last and most sacred altar. Inside, the air is cold, damp. The smell of limestone and centuries of candle wax lingers on the walls. You walk with a torch, its light flickering across handprints and ancient glyphs painted on stone. Others have been here before. Other priests, other souls. You feel them with every step. You kneel at the first altar, a simple stone slab etched with spirals. You set down the torch. You place your palms on the rock. You whisper the names of the gods. Then you open the pouch at your waist. Inside, obsidian needles, thorned vines, stingray spines. Tonight is a night of with slow breath, you press the spine against your tongue. Not out of cruelty, not out of madness, but because blood is the only currency the gods cannot ignore. The sting is sharp, the blood is warm. It drips into the bowl beside you, mixing with flower petals and copal ash. You wince only slightly, then you chant. The same line, again and again. A spiral of sound echoing off the cave walls. The pain fades. The chant deepens. You are no longer speaking with your voice alone. You have become the voice of the old gods, the whisper between stars. Let's pause here for a moment. The cave grows still, and the torchlight dances like spirits in the dark. Now you reach the back of the cave. It is a sacred chamber, deep underground, where only priests may tread. There, on the stone wall, are the ancient glyphs, not written in paint, but carved directly into the rock by hands long dead. Messages from the past, visions from those who came before. You place your palm beside one of the glyphs. It fits perfectly. You feel the heat from the stone, as if the earth remembers the touch of your ancestors and welcomes you home. You do not speak here. You simply listen. Hours pass. Your knees ache. Your wounds sting. Your head swims from incense and fasting. But finally, your vigil ends. You extinguish the torch, not in water, but by pressing it to the earth, letting the smoke rise toward the ceiling like a prayer. You leave behind no trace, no footprints, no whispers, only the blood in the bowl and the fading echo of your chant. You emerge from the cave as dawn begins to paint the sky in pale colors. Back at the temple, the city begins to stir. Children's voices rise like birdsong. The aroma of maize and roasted cacao floats on the breeze. Traders arrange goods. Warriors stretch their limbs. Musicians tune their drums. But you return to your chamber, not to sleep, to write. The codex waits. Blank, hungry, you record the visions. You draw the omens. You date the eclipse, the alignment of Venus. the direction of the winds. You write slowly, carefully. Every line matters. If you write incorrectly, you do not simply lose your job. You may doom your entire city. Let's pause here for a moment. The world awakens outside, but within this chamber, time still flows like sacred ink. Across bark paper by mid-morning, your duties are over. For now, you have not eaten. You have not spoken except to gods. Your hands are inked, your lips cracked, and yet you feel peace. Because you held the sun in place, you greeted the stars, you bled for the world, you chanted the name of gods who have no mouths. Tomorrow it will begin again, and the day after, and the day after that. Because you are not a king, you are not a warrior. You are a bridge between worlds. You're a priest. Let's pause here for a moment and breathe, for the sky is wide and time is slow, and the gods are watching once more. The sun climbs higher, bathing the ancient city in golden light. The limestone pyramids cast long shadows across the plaza, their stepped sides a testament to the enduring faith of your people. In the distance, the jungle stretches endlessly, a sea of green hiding countless secrets and sacred places. You stand atop the highest temple, your gaze sweeping across the awakening city below. The market comes to life, filled with the vibrant colors of tropical fruits, the shimmer of jade, and the rich hues of woven textiles. The air is thick with the scent of copal incense and the earthy aroma of fresh corn tortillas. Your mind drifts to the long lineage of priests who came before you, each one a link in an unbroken chain stretching back to the dawn of your civilization. You think of the first ones who raised their eyes to the heavens and saw not chaos, but order, who began to map the movements of celestial bodies and divine the will of the gods. In your hands, you hold a small jade figurine, a gift from the king himself. In recognition of your service, its weight is a reminder of the burden you carry, the responsibility to interpret the will of the gods and guide your people through the cycles of time. As you descend the temple steps, you pass young acolytes hurrying to their morning lessons. Their eyes are wide with a mixture of awe and fear as they bow their heads in respect. You remember your own days as a novice, the long hours spent memorizing calendar cycles, studying the movements of the stars, and learning the intricate art of blood. In the courtyard below, a group of nobles gathers, their elaborate headdresses bobbing as they discuss matters of state. They glance your way, knowing that your visions and prophecies could shape the future of the entire kingdom. You nod slightly, acknowledging their presence while maintaining the air of mystery that surrounds your office. You make your way to the ball court, where young warriors are already engaged in a fierce game. The sound of the heavy rubber ball echoing off the stone walls reminds you of the thunderous voice of Chok, the rain god. You pause to watch, knowing that this game is more than mere sport. It is a reenactment of the cosmic struggle between the forces of the underworld and the realm of the living. As you continue your walk through the city, you pass the workshops of skilled artisans. Potters shape clay into vessels adorned with intricate glyphs and mythological scenes. Scribes carefully paint codices, recording history, astronomical observations, and religious rituals. You make a mental note to visit them later, to ensure that your night's visions are accurately preserved for future generations. Near the edge of the city, you come upon a group of farmers preparing to head out to the fields. They bow deeply as you approach, murmuring prayers for a bountiful harvest. You raise your hand in blessing, invoking the favor of the maize god, Yumcox, upon their labors. As the heat of the day intensifies, you find yourself drawn back to the cool shadows of the temple. You climb the stairs once more, each step a reminder of the cycle of life, death, and rebirth that governs all things. At the summit, you pause and turn your face to the sun. You close your eyes, feeling the warmth on your skin, sensing the presence of Kinich Aha, the sun god, watching over the world. In this moment, you are acutely aware of your place in the grand cosmic order. A humble servant of the gods, a keeper of ancient wisdom, a guardian of your people's future. The day stretches before you, filled with rituals to perform, supplicants to counsel, and omens to interpret. But for now, you allow yourself this brief moment of stillness, this breath between worlds. For you are not just a man, you are a priest of the Maya, and the gods are always watching. In the heart of the ancient Mayan world, where stone pyramids pierced the canopy and glyphs whispered secrets of the cosmos, a city pulsed with life and mystery. Its name has been lost to time, swallowed by the relentless jungle. Some scholars argue it was Tikal, others insist on Palenque. Perhaps it was both, perhaps neither, but one truth remains undisputed. Something profound vanished from this place, and with it, a priest, a man of extraordinary vision and crushing responsibility, groomed from infancy, revered, feared him, ultimately forgotten. This is his tale. Let us pause for a moment. The fire flickers gently, and we gaze up at the vast expanse of stars above. He entered this world beneath an ominous sky. Mars ascending, the sacred calendar marked his birth with two potent symbols, Imex, crocodile, and Chuhan, monkey. It was whispered that spirits battled for his soul. Before he drew his first breath, his mother was a humble weaver, his father a stonemason, broad-shouldered and skilled, who perished when the boy was barely 3. They say the child shed no tears at the burial. Instead, he traced intricate patterns in the earth with a twig. A wizened shaman observed from the shadows and murmured, "This one is claimed by the stones." He was delivered to the temple precinct before his 6th summer. No more mother's lullabies, no more sweet cacao shared with siblings. No more chasing fireflies in the twilight, only fasting, meditation, endless study. They bestowed upon him a new identity. Yaks, Cook Mofers, Quetzal. His days were consumed by hunching over fragile codices, committing to memory the intricacies of the calendar rounds, sketching the dance of celestial bodies. His nights were spent in silent communion with the stars until their light seared his dreams. He yearned for his mother's warm embrace. He missed the sound of laughter, but he did not weep. He spoke only when commanded, and when the high priest challenged him one day to predict the next lunar eclipse, he provided the answer before the elder could complete his query. As the seasons turned, he grew tall and wiry, his gaze forever fixed on the heavens, his fingers perpetually stained with sacred pigments. The common folk began to regard him with a mixture of awe and unease. He recounted visions that manifested in reality. He foresaw droughts before the first leaf withered. He gestured to a shooting star and informed the king, "This is not a harbinger. This is an invitation." By his 20th year, he donned the jaguar skin. By 25, he ascended to high priest. He stood beside the ruler, but bowed to no mortal. And the gods, those ancient, inscrutable deities who demand sacrifice, devotion, and eternity, they heeded his words, as did the people. Let us pause once more. The fire dims, and the constellations above begin to shift into unfamiliar patterns. Then came the plague. It crept in silently at first. The spring rains failed to arrive. Then the sacred maize withered in the fields. Soon, the mighty rivers shrank to pitiful streams. The people brought offerings in desperation. Quetzal feathers, precious even their own blood. But the gods remained unmoved. Yaks, Kakak, Mo pored over ancient texts. He performed increasingly elaborate rituals. He spilled his own lifeblood upon every sacred altar. He commissioned new stelae carved with prayers so fervent they seemed to pulse with life. Yet the land continued to parch. The people's whispers grew to shouts. Why have the gods abandoned us? The king's patience wore thin. Why can you not appease them? And the priest spoke softly. The gods have not forsaken us. We have forsaken ourselves. Then an omen appeared in the sky. A comet, blazing and terrible. Night became day. Jaguars roared in the streets. Women wailed. Men trembled. But Yaxkukmo had foreseen this visitor months before its arrival. He stood before the assembled masses, his robes stained crimson, and declared, "This light is not destruction, it is revelation." He commanded a grand ceremony. Every priest in the realm gathered. The nobles watched with bated breath. He offered his own flesh not in literal sacrifice, but through incantations that resonated louder than thunder. As the comet's tail faded and darkness returned, the people gasped in wonder. The first drops of rain began to fall. A miracle! But the rains did not linger. They lasted a mere 3 days. The drought returned with a vengeance. And with it came doubt. This time, the murmurs grew to a roar. Some claimed the comet had been misinterpreted, that the brief rainfall was a cruel joke of the gods, that the priest no longer communed with the divine but spoke only his own delusions. One morning, strange glyphs were discovered etched into the base of the Great Pyramid, crude, unfinished, but their meaning was clear. He who once walked in light now stumbles in shadow. The sacred fire has left him. Yaks Kakaha. Mo offered no defense. He simply ceased to speak. Let us pause once more. The fire sputters, and we feel the weight of unseen eyes upon us. He was absent from the temple the following day, and the day after, panic spread through the city. His chambers remained untouched. His ceremonial regalia lay neatly folded. An unfinished prayer scroll sat upon his writing table, but the priest had vanished, disappeared without a trace. Some whispered he had been secretly executed by the king. Others claimed he had fled into the jungle, driven mad by failure. A few, mostly the eldest among them, insisted he had entered the sacred cenote, that he had plunged into its depths, never to resurface. For he was not abandoning his people. He was seeking audience with the gods themselves. Centuries flowed like water. The once mighty city crumbled. Pyramids toppled. The jungle reclaimed the stone carvings. The people scattered to the winds. The gods fell silent. And yet, in 2007, an archaeological team clearing debris from a long-forgotten temple complex made a startling discovery. A stone tablet, unlike any other, carved not to glorify kings or commemorate battles but to honor a priest. It bore no name, only a single, powerful glyph, Kukuk Kutsol, and beneath it, a spiraling symbol, the sign for eternity. He who spoke for the heavens has become one with them. Let us pause one final time and listen, not with our ears, but with our very souls. For some, legends are not truly lost. They simply wait, patient as stone, to be unearthed once more. They chose his student, a boy of just 16. He had studied beneath Cain Tzii since age 8, though he had never spoken aloud in a ceremony. His name is not recorded, only that he was small, soft-spoken, and walked with a limp. But when he was summoned and asked if he would read the calendar, he bowed his head and whispered, "If the gods will hear me, I will speak." On the morning of the convergence, the city gathered. Mothers clutched children, warriors stood stone still. The king sat on his carved throne, golden headdress gleaming, and the boy stood alone before the altar. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. He began the chant. At first, his voice wavered like a bird caught in wind. Then it grew stronger. The first cycle was the Sokan, the sacred 260-day calendar of gods and rituals. He named each day sign with precision. Crocodile, wind, night, seed. Then came the Hob, the solar calendar. He named the months and their festivals. Rain time, planting, sacrifice. Finally, the long count, the sacred reckoning. As he reached the last glyph, his voice broke not from fear, but revelation. The numbers had shifted. The count no longer aligned. A sign had been missed. Somewhere long ago, a ritual had not been completed. Time was fractured. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire grows low, and the moon hides behind drifting clouds. Dot. The boy fainted. The elders rushed forward. The king stood but said nothing. Later that night, the codices were examined again, and there near the edge of a scroll was a faded note, written by Kayan Tize IIB. If this page is read ... then I have failed. The gods do not speak anymore. We are listening to echoes. Build nothing. Burn nothing. Wait. The city fell into deep silence. The boy was not punished, but no calendar reading was ever performed again. And within one generation, the city was abandoned. Some say famine returned. Others speak of war, of curses, of wandering beasts. But a few say that the people left willingly because the gods had gone, and without them, the stones no longer sang. But this is not the end of the boy's story. He did not stay behind. He followed the river south, lived in caves for a time, grew old among strangers, and in his final years, he carved a single phrase onto a cave wall. It was not a prophecy, not a curse, just a whisper. Even when they are silent, the gods still seek. Let's pause here for a moment and close our eyes to feel the weight of forgotten time as stars drift gently over vanished cities. The sun no longer struck the central plaza at noon, where once it poured in golden beams through precise stone angles. Now clouds gathered earlier, and the vines had grown bolder. Roots curled like fingers over glyphs. Sabers whispered with the wind, and in the silence, the cities exhaled. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The collapse of the classic Mayan city stickle was not a single moment. It was not fire and screams. It was the slow fading of voices, the quiet retreat of ritual, and the surrender to time. There were no last battles, no closing ceremonies, no dramatic final chant to seal the stone. Instead, the temples were still. The priests had stopped, the calendar unread. Some villagers remained farming, surviving, but the great roads grew soft with grass. The stele leaned, and then the jungle began to climb. Why did it happen? Historians offer many explanations. Droughts, deforestation, overpopulation, warfare, famine. Each theory holds truth. None tells the whole story. But here, beneath the baobab stars, we listen not just for facts but for the feeling of endings. And endings are rarely one thing. They are the weight of many small losses, a season of no rain, a quarrel between priests, a missed sign in the stars, a child not born, a god not fed. They built taller temples grander than ever, desperate monuments to hold on to power, but higher stones do not stop hungrier bellies. In Tikal, the water reservoirs ran low, algae bloomed, crops failed. The jungle edge crept in, and the drums fell silent. Yet there is no record of rebellion, only silence, as if the people agreed to let the forest win. Let's pause here for a moment, as vines curl around forgotten walls, and silence wraps the bones of once sacred halls. ... And what of the gods? The gods remained, but now they whispered through bats in the caves. They danced on the dew of unpicked maize. They rode on the breath of howler monkeys, and wept through the rain as it returned long after the priests had gone. Some say the gods grew angry and turned away. Others say the gods always loved the forest more than the stone. And perhaps the forest was the real temple all along. In Nightingale Cave, deep beneath the mountains, they found the final messages, painted in red, drawn in soot, left by a hand both trembling and calm. We are dust under stars. The gods do not forget, but they sleep now, and we must go. No name, no date, just truth. Let's pause here for a moment and listen to the cave's breath, the slow drip of water over stone, the lullaby of a world surrendering to time. ... Some descendants remained. The Maya never vanished. In the highlands of Chiapas, in the hills of Guatemala, the calendar is still kept, the maize still planted, the gods still honored. But they speak softer now, and the priests walk barefoot through fields, not across stone, and that is the gift of endings, not to mourn, but to listen, because sometimes it is only when the drums stop that we finally hear the wind. The story of the Maya is not one of sudden catastrophe, but of gradual transformation. As we delve deeper into their history, we find a tapestry woven with threads of resilience, adaptation, and the eternal dance between civilization and nature. In the heart of the basin, where Tikal once stood proud, the forest now reigns supreme. But listen closely, and you might hear the echoes of a bustling marketplace, the chants of priests, the laughter of children playing in courtyards, now claimed by ceiba roots. The collapse was not uniform. While some cities fell into disuse, others persevered, rose to prominence in the north. Its pyramid of a testament to the enduring spirit of Maya ingenuity. Yet even this great city would eventually succumb to the inexorable march of time. What lessons can we glean from the twilight of the classic Maya? Perhaps it's a reminder of the delicate balance between human ambition and the natural world. The Maya built wonders, yes, but at what cost to the land that sustained them? In the cenotes of sacred wells that once quenched the thirst of cities, we find clues to environmental changes. Layers of sediment tell tales of drought, of shifting rainfall patterns that stressed an already fragile agricultural system. But climate alone does not explain the complexity of collapse. Political strife, the weight of maintaining elaborate rituals, the strain of supporting a growing population all played their part in the unraveling of Maya urban centers. And yet, collapse is too simple a word, for even as the great cities fell silent, Maya culture endured. In small villages and remote highlands, people carried on. They adapted, they remembered. Let's pause here for a moment and consider the resilience of memory, the power of stories passed down through generations. In the Palpol Va, the sacred book of the Keshmaya, we find a creation myth that speaks of multiple attempts by the gods to create humanity. Each attempt fails until the gods fashion people from maize. Is this not a metaphor for the cycles of civilization itself? The fall of cities, the rebirth of culture in new forms. As archaeologists uncover more evidence, our understanding of the Maya world grows richer, more nuanced. We see not just the grand temples and palaces, but the homes of ordinary people. We read not just the boastful proclamations of kings, but the graffiti of scribes and artisans. In the ruins of a message scratched into plaster gives us a glimpse of the human behind the history. On this day, I completed my work, a simple statement, yet it bridges millennia, connecting us to the individual who left their mark. The Maya did not disappear. They transformed. Today, millions of Maya descendants keep ancient traditions alive while navigating the modern world. In markets and mountain villages, you can still hear languages that echoed through the courts of kings 1,000 years ago. Let's pause here for a moment and reflect on the continuity of culture, the threads that connect past and present. As night falls over the jungle and the stars emerge above the canopy, we're reminded of the Maya fascination with celestial cycles. They charted the movements of planets, predicted eclipses, and aligned their monuments with the cosmos. Perhaps, in those final days of the great cities, as the stones began to crack and the plazas grew quiet, the Maya looked to the stars for answers. What did they see in those unchanging patterns above a world in flux? We may never know the full story of the Maya collapse, but in the whisper of wind through abandoned courtyards, in the tenacious roots that embrace fallen stele, we find a profound truth. Nothing truly ends. It only changes form. And so, as we stand amidst the ruins, feeling the weight of history beneath our feet, we're not just witnesses to an ending. We're part of an ongoing story, one that reminds us of our own impermanence and the enduring cycle of growth, decline, and renewal. The Maya cities breathed their last. Yes, but the forest breathes still, and within its breath, the spirit of a people endures. Listen closely, and you might hear it in the call of a quetzal, in the rustle of maize, in the laughter of children who still play in the shadow of ancient stones. For in the end, it is not the grandeur of temples that defines a civilization, but the stories it tells, the wisdom it passes on, and the harmony it seeks with the world around it. And in this, the Maya have never truly fallen silent. There was once a time when the stars whispered secrets to those who listened, when every constellation held a story, every planet had a purpose, and the movements of the sun foretold the fate of empires. The Maya did not just build cities, they wove the very fabric of time and space. And now, those threads lie hidden under stone soil and centuries of silence. Let's pause here for a moment. The jungle grows quiet, and we stand beneath an ancient sky. There were once countless Mayan astronomers and timekeepers, priests who gazed not at altars, but at the heavens above, charting celestial dances with nothing but keen eyes and sacred knowledge. Each star was a beacon, each planet a god. Venus, the harbinger of war, Jupiter, the king of the celestial court, and the Milky Way, a cosmic river of souls. But most of this wisdom is lost. When conquest came, it brought more than swords. It brought a new way of seeing the world. And so, the old ways faded, like stardust at dawn. In the centuries that followed, the great observatories fell silent. The stone calendars cracked and crumbled, and the priests who once read the sky took their secrets to the grave, yet echoes remain, whispering through time. We once knew the language of the cosmos, and the gods spoke to us through starlight. Of all the astronomical knowledge that once flourished, only fragments survived. Fragments. The Dresden Codex, with its eclipse tables, The Paris Codex, mapping zodiacal constellations, and countless stones, still standing in silent vigil, their carved faces aligned with solstices and equinoxes. They are not complete, they are not fully understood, but in their weathered surfaces live the ghosts of celestial cycles, the memories of Venus's dance, and the sacred rhythms that once governed life itself. They tell of skies alive with meaning, of stars that guided kings and commoners alike, and of a people who saw divinity in every corner of the cosmos. Let's pause here for a moment, to honor the wisdom lost to time, and to feel the distant pulse of stellar knowledge still flickering in the night. But not all celestial wisdom was carved in stone. Some truths were whispered in sacred caves, passed from elder to apprentice in hushed tones, deep in the heart of the where darkness reigned eternal. The Maya sought connection with the sky above. They entered cenote snatcher, sinkholes filled with crystal clear water, not as swimmers, but as the Maya believed that these watery portals mirrored the heavens in their depths. In places like the sacred cenote of Chichen Itza, they left offerings to the rain god Chok, gold, jade, and even human lives, all to maintain cosmic balance. Some peered into these still waters at midnight, seeing the reflection of stars, normally hidden by the sun's glare. Here at the intersection of earth and sky, the boundaries between worlds blurred. In the silence of those subterranean chambers, they whispered the names of constellations. They tracked the movements of planets, visible only in fleeting moments. Water was sacred. It reflected the heavens. It opened pathways to celestial realms. The Maya did not see the sky as distant or unreachable. They saw it mirrored in every pool, every droplet of rain. They mapped its patterns in their minds and on stone, named its cycles, honored the cosmic forces that governed all. And when the priests emerged from the eyes adjusted to starlight, minds filled with celestial visions, they were transformed. They had glimpsed the cosmic order, and now they would record it in glyphs, in monuments, in the very layout of their cities. Let's pause here for a moment. The Senate's surface ripples gently, and the stars above seem to dance in its depths. Their greatest achievement, perhaps, was not a single structure or text, but an entire way of seeing the world. A worldview where sky and earth were inseparable, where time itself was a living, breathing entity. 3 cosmic cycles intertwined in their minds. The Tzolk'in, a 260-day sacred almanac, the Hob, a 365-day solar year, and the long count, measuring vast epochs of time. Every day held significance. Every celestial event, meaning each planet and star, had its role in the cosmic drama. The priests consulted these celestial rhythms daily to determine when to plant crops, when to wage war, when to perform sacred rituals. A misaligned ceremony could anger the gods or throw the entire cosmos out of balance. They were not merely observing, they were participating in the grand dance of creation. The stars were not cold, distant points of light to them. Mars was the fiery messenger of conflict. Saturn, the old god of abundance and wisdom, and the Pleiades. They marked the center of the sky, the cosmic hearth around which all revolved. The priests tracked their movements with astonishing accuracy, using nothing more than naked eyes, carefully placed structures, and generations of accumulated knowledge. Their astronomical calculations rival modern computations and still pulse with the energy of cosmic connection. Even in the deepest jungle, they built platforms aligned to stellar risings, because the earth beneath their feet and the vast expanse above were always in harmony. Let's pause here for a moment. The jungle night comes alive with sound. and the wheeling stars above seemed to sing an ancient song. And then, like stardust scattered by cosmic winds, their knowledge began to fade. The great cities fell silent. The observatories crumbled. The cosmic wisdom passed into legend. But not entirely, because here, in the whisper of the wind through ruin, in the play of light and shadow on equinox mornings, the celestial rhythms still echo. And in our own wonder at the night sky, perhaps we hear faint echoes of that ancient cosmic harmony. In the depths of time, there was a moment of stillness, not emptiness, but potential, a coiled serpent in the shadows, poised to strike the cosmic drum. The Maya understood this moment. They etched it into stone when Europe was still fumbling in the dark, not as absence, but as the breath before creation, the pause before the first heartbeat of the world. To count, for them, was not to tally it, was to chant the very rhythm of existence. And so, in a realm of verdant jungles and rain-soaked pyramids, the Maya gave birth to one of the most intricate mathematical systems known to the ancient world. Let us pause here for a moment. The night air whispers, and we gaze upon the eternal stars. Their numbers were unlike our own. They counted by 20s, not 10s. This was the vigesimal system, perhaps born from the 20 digits of hands and feet. A reminder that for the Maya, mathematics began with the human form, and then reached outward to touch the gods. A solitary dot signified 1, a bar represented 5. A shell symbolized the sacred 0. Stacked and arranged in vertical columns, these marks spoke of days, empires, deaths, and visions. A common scribe could decipher them, but a priest. A priest could sense their very essence, for each number possessed a face, a spirit, a meaning that resonated through stone calendars and prophetic visions. The number 13, sacred and revered, marked the heavens themselves, while 9 represented the underworld. 9 levels, 9 lords of the night. To speak a number was to awaken its power. At the heart of their world pulsed time itself, not time as measured by ticking clocks, but as a living, breathing cycle, eternally moving, always returning. The long count calendar stretched back to the mythical date of 3114 BCE, when the gods first raised the sky from the primordial waters. From that moment, they charted the unfolding of creation in great cycles, known as each Bactin, a span of roughly 394 years. Our own Irita, one that sparked fears of an ending in 2012, was simply the close of the 13th Bat, a cycle completed. Not apocalypse, but renewal. To the Maya, time did not perish. It turned like an Ouroboros devouring its tail, or a sun sinking only to rise again in glory. Let us pause here for a moment and listen to the slow grinding of cosmic gears like a celestial millstone. Even their sacred rites followed precise numerical patterns. A newborn might be named based on the Tzokan day of its first breath, one of 260 divine combinations. Each day bore a glyph, a tone, an animal spirit. Born on the day of Ike, you embodied the essence of breath and wind. Born on Cain, you carried within you the energy of abundance, harvest, and ripeness. This was more than mere astrology. It was divine ordination. A high priest would gaze into your eyes and know what offerings you must present, what paths lay open before you, what spirits walked unseen at your side, and the days themselves, they lived and breathed. Each one demanded its own sustenance, its own melodies, its own reverent silence. And then there was the great dance of the calendar round, where the Tzolk'in and Hob cycles intertwined. Every 52 years, their rhythms aligned in perfect harmony. This moment was known as the calendar round completion, a time of profound fear and even greater ceremony. Fires were extinguished across the land. Hearts were offered to the hungry gods, and only if the deities were pleased would the sacred flame be It was as if the very cosmos held its breath, waiting for permission to continue its eternal dance. And it was the priest who whispered that permission. Not a king, not a general, a priest, adorned in feathers and glistening with sacred sweat, counting the wheeling stars and listening to the whispers of the earth. Let us pause here for a moment. The wind rustles through ancient stones, and the sky slowly yields to the embrace of night. Mathematics or the Maya was not a cold abstraction. It was not lifeless symbols scratched on parchment. It was breath, body, bone. A sacred number could determine the fate of a dynasty. An erroneous calculation could seal the doom of an entire city. Even their mighty pyramids, those stepped mountains that reached for the heavens, were constructed according to cosmic mathematics. Each stair aligned with distant stars. Each level spoke of the realms of sky, earth, and underworld. Atop these sacred heights, the priest would raise his arms to the infinite and intone numbers aloud, as if summoning the very fabric of creation. And below, the people would wait in hushed anticipation, not comprehending every esoteric calculation, but knowing that without them, the sun might refuse to rise on the morrow. Modern scholars speak of mathematical brilliance. They marvel at the precision, the foresight, but what often eludes them is the living spirit behind the symbols. To the Maya, a number was not a mere tool. It was a sentient being, one that could guide, bless, or destroy. And in the silent testimony of carved glyphs, we are left with echoes of minds that counted not to conquer, but to understand and to offer gratitude to the gods who bestowed upon them the gift of numbers in the first place. Let us pause here for a final moment and feel the whisper of ancient wisdom beneath stars that still remember the prayers of long-forgotten priests. It begins with a stone. Not just any stone, but one pulled from the earth with care, its edges kissed by time, its soul waiting to rise. In the Maya world, to build was not merely to shelter the body, but to elevate the spirit. Temples were not built quickly. They were grown, layer upon layer, like the bark of a sacred cedar tree. Every level, every stair was placed with meaning. They were mountains, man-made echoes of the earth's bones, touching sky, rooted in soil, and they did not stand alone. No, each temple was part of a greater design, a celestial conversation in stone. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Maya aligned their temples with the heavens, not for decoration, not for vanity, but because the universe had a rhythm, and they wished to dance in time with it. Temples faced a sunrise on solstice mornings, or the precise spot where Venus rose, a planet of war and fate. Some pyramids had twin staircases, mirroring the dualities of life and death, light and dark, fire and water. Inside, passageways mimicked caves, wombs of the underworld, where gods once dwelt. To enter such a space was not to step into shadow, but to journey between worlds. Consider the great temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. To the outsider, it is a pyramid, like many, but climb it, and you'll find a hidden chamber that speaks of cosmic alignments and celestial cycles. There lies the throne of the jaguar, its red paint still vibrant, its form a bridge between earth and sky. Above it, the temple whispers to the stars. Below, it echoes the heartbeat of the earth. Time, you see, was not linear. It was geometry, a dance of cycles from stone to sky, from breath to eternity. Let's pause here for a moment and feel the weight of history pressing gently from the stones. Many temples were built atop older temples, not because the old ones failed, but because the world had changed. Each new layer marked the passage of time, a new era, a new alignment with the gods. It was like writing a story, not on paper, but on stone and sky. The builders were not architects in the modern sense. They were storytellers. They knew that every angle, every corner spoke to something beyond. Even the number of steps on a pyramid, often 91 on each side, totaling 364 plus the platform. A days of the Hob, the solar year. To climb, it was to live a year in miniature. One footfall for each morning sun. One of the most famous temples, El Castillo, holds a secret. During the spring and autumn equinox, as the sun sets, a shadow serpent slithers down the northern staircase, a play of light and stone, but also a ritual in physics and faith. The serpent is Kukulkan, feathered god of wisdom and rebirth, and for a few precious moments each year, he returns to earth, not through fire, but through shadow and time. Such alignments took years, sometimes generations, to calculate and construct. This was no accident. This was devotion. Let's pause here for a moment as the sun sets over the temple and the serpent stirs once more. Inside many temples were red-painted walls, echoing blood and life. Murals told of sacrifices, of gods born from maize, of kings dancing with cosmic forces. It was art, it was theology, it was cosmic instruction. Priests would perform rituals before these walls, chanting glyphs, burning copal incense, offering their blood with obsidian and stingray spine. They did not act out myth, they entered it. For them, a temple was not history. It was now a living conduit through which gods could breathe. Even today, the jungle tries to take it all back. Roots creep into cracks, birdsong swallows chants. Time softens stone, but still some temples stand, and in their silence you can hear echoes of astronomers who gave up comfort to chart the stars, of builders who counted in shadows, of priests who whispered to gods through staircases and fire, and of a world where math was magic and architecture was prayer. Let's pause here for a moment and offer a breath to the ancestors who built mountains that still dream. The Maya understood that time was not a straight line, but a spiral. Each day, each year, each age a turn of the cosmic wheel, and their temples, they were the axles upon which that wheel turned. Consider the Temple of the Sun at Pat. Its walls are not mere stone, but a calendar written in relief. Carvings tell of gods who sacrificed themselves to birth the world, of a cosmos divided into layers, sky, earth, and underworld, and of kings who danced between those layers, bridging mortal and divine. To walk its corridors is to step into that dance, to feel the pulse of a universe where every stone had meaning. Let's pause here for a moment and listen to the whispers of ancient footsteps. The Maya believed in cycles within cycles, a day nested within a month within a year within greater ages that spanned millennia, and their temples reflected this. Some were built to align with the sun only once every 52 years. When the sacred calendar and the solar year synchronized, imagine the patience, the faith to build for a moment you might never see. But that's the thing about Maya time. It was both eternal and immediate. Every ritual, every carved glyph, every carefully placed stone was an echo of the past and a seed for the future. In the great plaza of Tikal, pyramids face each other across a vast space, not randomly placed, but precisely positioned. To stand between them during certain celestial events is to feel the universe breathe. Venus rises. The moon sets, Orion's belt aligns with the temple top, and for a moment, heaven and earth are one. Let's pause here for a moment and feel the cosmic dance beneath our feet. The Maya did not see their temples as separate from nature. They were extensions of the earth itself. Pyramids mimicked mountains. Plazas echoed valleys. Stelae stood like great trees, their carved surfaces alive with history. And water, how they revered water. Cenotes, those sacred sinkholes, were portals to the underworld. Some temples were built with acoustic properties that mimicked the drip of water in caves. To chant in such a space was to sing with the voice of the earth itself. Let's pause here for a moment and listen for the heartbeat of stone. Not all Maya temples reached for the sky. Some, like the tomb of the Red Queen in Palenque, burrowed deep into the earth. A descent into cool darkness. Walls painted the deep red of lifeblood. A sarcophagus dusted with cinnabar, that sacred, poisonous pigment. Here, death was not an end, but a transformation. The bones of rulers became seeds, planted in the womb of the earth, waiting to sprout into new life. To enter such a chamber is to feel time compress. Past, present, future all one. Let's pause here for a moment and breathe with the ancestors. The Maya saw their world as alive, breathing, conscious, and their temples were not just stone, but living beings. They were fed, they were bathed, they were adorned. Incense smoke was their breath, blood offerings their nourishment, jade and feathers their finery. To neglect a temple was to neglect the gods themselves. And so, generation after generation, they were tended, rebuilt, expanded, each new layer a renewal of cosmic covenant. Let's pause here for a moment and feel the pulse of living stone as we stand here in the shadow of these ancient monuments. What do we see? Not just ruins, not just history, but a testament to human ingenuity, faith, and perseverance. A reminder that we are all, in our own way, builders of temples, whether of stone, or story, or spirit. We all seek to touch the sky, to root ourselves in earth, to dance with the stars. The Maya left us more than monuments. They left us a question. What will we build that will echo through time? What sacred geometry shapes our own lives? Let's pause here one final time and listen to the wisdom of stone and sky, for in the end, we too are part of this great cosmic dance. Our heartbeats, our breaths, our dreams, all turns of the great wheel, all stones in the temple of time. They did not wear crowns. They did not ride into battle, nor lead armies through blood-soaked fields. But in the stone palaces that kissed the skies, they were listened to before all others. The elite Mayan priest, known as the Ejekeuan, the he who worships the gods, was a figure of sacred consequence. He held no sword, yet his words could start wars or end them. His breath carried the weight of the cosmos, and his gaze could silence even kings. Their homes, too, reflected this spiritual weight. Set near the temples, yet apart from the bustle of the city, they lived in stone houses surrounded by sacred courtyards, with pools for ritual bathing and shaded gardens filled with medicinal herbs and ceremonial flowers. Jade figurines lined their private shrines. Parrots and jaguars might prowl the margins of their compounds, both messengers of gods, both guardians of vision. They did not cook. Their meals were brought to them, often by maize bread soft in honey, occasional morsels of roasted quail, turtle, or freshwater fish, though not always. For many, fasting remained part of their sacred rhythm, even in luxury. Let's pause here for a moment. The incense rises in slow curls, and the gods are near. The elite priesthood wore no armor but Their regalia was no less commanding. They wore robes of jaguar pelt, a material restricted to the most revered. Their headdresses rose like towers adorned with feathers from the resplendent quetzal, a bird whose green shimmer mirrored the jungle's soul. Necklaces of carved obsidian, bracelets of jade and shell, and anklets that clicked softly with each step. Theirs was a life of contrast, of restraint wrapped in splendor, of humility veiled in divine fear. Let's pause here for a moment, beneath the rustling feathers of a headdress that has not moved in 1,000 years. They were not only interpreters of gods, they were educators. Many elite priests were responsible for the education of noble children, especially those destined to become kings or priests themselves. Inside shaded chambers lit only by firelight, young scribes would be taught the sacred glyphs. They learned not just to read but to chant the calendar aloud, to see time the way their teachers saw it, as a living spiral. They were also trained in medicine, to mix crushed herbs, to read fevers like omens, to align a person's breath with the movement of Venus. Teaching was not a duty, it was a continuation of power. Each student was a vessel, and the priest poured history into their bones. And when a king sought guidance, when the rains failed, when a comet streaked across the sky, or when a child of royal blood fell ill, it was not the general who was summoned, it was the priest. He would sit beside the king, not below him. A partner in rule, a speaker of truths, too deep for sword or counsel. Sometimes these priests would influence marriage alliances, choosing auspicious dates, blessing unions that united city-states or calmed bloody rivalries. They were also keepers of prophecy, and when they warned of darkness, cities would tremble. Let's pause here for a moment. The drums fall silent, and all ears turn to the priest's quiet voice. And when their time came to die, priests did not simply return to soil. They were prepared like kings. Their bodies were washed in sacred waters, their mouths filled with jade beads, a final offering to the gods, their bones wrapped in red cloth, placed inside tombs beneath temples or within special vaults. Murals along the tomb walls showed them walking among stars. Some were buried with their tools, obsidian blades, books, incense burners, their blood-stained garments folded beside them as proof of their devotion. And in time, their names were spoken in ritual chants, their breath believed to rise each morning with the mist and the sun. Their power was never loud. It moved like wind between stone corridors. It sang in glyphs. It echoed in firelight. To be a high priest was to live in a tension between man and God, flesh and breath, sky and soil. And though kings wore gold and generals rode jaguars, it was the priest who gave the world its rhythm. Let's pause here for a moment. As the stars gather above and history folds gently into night, in the heart of the Mayan world, where pyramids pierced the heavens and jungles whispered ancient secrets, the AJKUHan stood as living bridges between realms. Their very existence was a testament to the power of knowledge, ritual, and the spoken word. These were not men of battle, yet their influence shaped empires. In their hands, they held not swords, but codices, books of bark paper filled with intricate glyphs that held the keys to time itself. Each symbol was a doorway, each page a map to the will of the gods. The life of an elite priest began long before adulthood. Chosen as children for their keen minds or noble lineage, they were set apart from their peers. While other boys learned to hunt or farm, these select few were immersed in a world of astronomical calculations, bloodletting rituals, and the mysteries of the sacred calendar. Their education was rigorous, spanning decades. They memorized vast cycles of time, learned to read the movements of celestial bodies, and mastered the art of divination. Pain was their teacher as much as any elder, for to commune with the gods often required sacrifice, be it through fasting, sleep deprivation, or the drawing of one's own blood. As they grew, so did their responsibilities. Junior priests might tend sacred fires, prepare offerings, or assist in minor ceremonies. But those who showed true promise, those whose dreams were visited by jaguars, or whose blood flowed with particular potency, they were destined for greater things. The path to becoming an AJKUN was long and fraught with danger. Many did not survive the grueling initiations or the years of isolation spent in meditation. Those who emerged, however, were transformed, no longer mere mortals. They became living conduits for divine will. Their days were a tapestry of ritual and contemplation. Dawn might find them atop a temple, greeting the sun with prayers and incense. Midday could see them bent over a codex, deciphering prophecies or recording the deeds of kings. As twilight fell, they might lead the people in ceremonies to honor the ancestors or appease capricious deities, but it was in times of crisis that their true power shone bright. When drought threatened crops, when enemies massed at the borders, or when omens foretold disaster, it was to the AJKON that rulers turned. In hushed council chambers, their words carried the weight of cosmic law. They could advise a king to wage war, or sue for peace, to build grand monuments, or redistribute wealth among the people. Their interpretations of signs and portents could sway the fate of entire cities. Yet with such influence came grave responsibility. A misstep in ritual, a misread omen, or a prophecy unfulfilled could spell doom not just for the priest, but for his entire community. The gods were not known for their forgiveness, and the AJKON walked a razor's edge between divine favor and terrible wrath. Perhaps it was this constant pressure that led some priests to seek solace in altered states of consciousness. Sacred mushrooms, potent tobacco, and other psychoactive plants were tools of their trade, gateways to visions and communion with the spirit world. In the depths of trance, they claimed to walk with gods and journey through time itself. But for all their otherworldly connections, the AJKUN were still men. They felt the heat of the sun, the ache of hunger, the pull of human desires. Some used their position for personal gain, amassing wealth or influence beyond their station. Others genuinely believed in their sacred duty, living lives of ascetic devotion. As the sun set on the classical Maya period, the role of the elite priesthood began to change. Political upheavals, environmental pressures, and shifting social dynamics all played a part in the decline of their absolute authority. Yet even as cities fell and dynasties crumbled, the knowledge they safeguarded endured. In remote villages and hidden caves, the descendants of the IJKON continued their practices. They kept the old ways alive, passing down sacred knowledge from generation to generation. Even today, echoes of their wisdom can be found in the traditions of modern Maya communities. The legacy of the Mayan priesthood is etched in stone, written in glyphs, and woven into the very fabric of Mesoamerican culture. They were more than mere religious figures. They were timekeepers, historians, healers, and visionaries. In their pursuit of cosmic harmony, they left behind a rich tapestry of art, architecture, and astronomical knowledge that continues to awe and inspire. As we stand in the shadow of great pyramids, or gaze upon intricately carved stelae, we catch glimpses of a world where the boundaries between earth and sky, mortal and divine, were not so firmly drawn. The AJKUN may have passed into history, but their legacy reminds us of the enduring power of faith, knowledge, and the human spirit's quest to touch the divine. Let us pause one final time, as the echoes of ancient chants fade into the rustling leaves of the rainforest, and the wisdom of ages settles like mist over forgotten cities. The elite priest did not merely serve the gods, he sustained them, and in turn, they sustained the world. To the Maya, the universe was not a silent machine. It was a living being, breathing, pulsing, fragile, and it required nourishment. That nourishment, was ritual, precise, painful, beautiful. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Each ceremony began long before the public gathered. It began in solitude, in fasting, in dreams. The priest would abstain from food and sleep, purify his body with water and ash, and isolate himself in a small chamber of darkness. There, with only the flicker of flame for company, he would chant the names of gods older than memory. He would prepare obsidian blades, not to strike another, but to pierce himself. For self-sacrifice was the highest offering. Blood from the tongue, from the earlobe, sometimes even the genitals, was drawn not in violence, but in deep devotion. It was believed that through this act, the priest opened a portal between worlds. Let's pause here for a moment. The hush deepens, and the breath of God's brushes past. Then came the public rite. In the central plaza, before hundreds, sometimes thousands, the priest would emerge in full regalia. Feathers, jade, blood, and smoke. The copal incense would burn thick in the air. Drums would beat a steady rhythm, like the heart of the earth itself. He would stand upon a stone platform, often atop a pyramid, and recite the sacred calendar aloud, his voice carrying not just sound, but cosmic order. Each ritual had a purpose: to call the rain, to mark an eclipse, to cleanse a new king, to heal a land poisoned by drought, and always to feed the gods. Let's pause here for a moment. The drums slow, and time folds inward. Some ceremonies involved others: acolytes, dancers, musicians, even animals. Birds were released at specific moments. Jaguar pelts were laid on altars. Bones were placed in sacred patterns. But even in those moments, the priest stood at the center of the world. For the Maya believed that the temple was not just a building. It was the navel of the universe, a place where heaven, earth, and the underworld all touched. To misstep, to recite the wrong date, to bleed too little, could spell disaster. The gods were not cruel. They were hungry, and the priest was their chosen chef. Let's pause here for a moment, beneath the temple's shadow, where light bends around blood and belief. Some nights, ceremonies lasted until dawn. The stars were not simply background. They were participants. Venus, in particular, guided many rites. When it appeared in the east, the priest would don white robes and whisper war prophecies. When it vanished, he would enter mourning, fasting until its return. Even the movement of ants, the shape of clouds, or the dreams he dreamt in his chamber could alter the ritual's course. There was no margin for error, for the fate of the people, other crops, other kings, rested on his every act. Sometimes the rituals were simple. A bowl of a chant whispered into maize, a child's name spoken at sunrise. But even these carried gravity. Even these reached gods across the 9 levels of the underworld. Other times, the rituals were dark. When drought lingered too long, when war knocked on stone gate, when plague whispered through alleyways, then ... the blood of the priest was not enough. Animal sacrifice, or, in rare and sacred cases ... human. These were not acts of cruelty. They were ancient equations, balances to be kept, debts to be paid. And the priest, with tears in his eyes and fire in his lungs, would stand as both witness and guide. Let's pause here for a moment. where silence becomes sacred and breath becomes bridge. When the ritual ended, he did not celebrate. There was no applause, no feast. Instead, the priest returned to his chamber. He removed his robes. He washed the blood from his hands. And he knelt not in pride, but in fear. Had it been enough? Would the rain come? Would the stars align? Would the gods whisper again? He would sleep little, dream much, and rise once more to begin again. To be an elite priest was not simply to hold power. It was to bear cosmic burden, to carry the balance of sun and moon, crop and famine, life and spirit. And though the world praised kings and feared warriors, it was the priest's silent work, in shadows, in blood, in sacred time, that kept the heavens turning. Let's pause here for a moment and breathe with the stars before stepping into the final temple of this tale. The Maya believed in cycles, in time that spiraled, not marched. And so each ritual was both an ending and a beginning. As the last echoes of chants faded, as the smoke from censers thinned, the priest would look to the horizon, for there always lay the next ceremony, the next offering, the next chance to feed the hungry gods. He would gather his strength, steel his resolve, and prepare once more to stand at the threshold of worlds. For in the grand cosmic dance of the Maya, the priest was both conductor and instrument, both supplicant and savior. His blood-stained hands held the threads of creation. His whispered prayers were the wind in the sails of the sun. And so, as we leave this sacred space, as we step back from the stone altars and starlit plazas, remember this. To the Maya, ritual was not mere tradition. It was not spectacle or superstition. It was the very pulse of existence, the breath of the universe, the dance that kept chaos at bay. And at its center stood the priest, mortal, yet touched by divinity, fragile, yet bearing the weight of worlds. Let us honor their memory, let us marvel at their devotion, and let us ponder the power of ritual, to shape not just minds and hearts, but the very fabric of reality itself. As the stars wheel overhead, as the jaguar prowls in shadow, as the maize sways in night breeze, we carry with us the echoes of ancient ceremony. For in understanding the sacred duty of the Maya priest, we glimpse a world where every act, every breath, every drop of blood could tip the scales of cosmic balance. A world where humans and gods were bound in an eternal dance of sustenance and sacrifice. And perhaps, in our own small ways, we too can find meaning in ritual, in the careful tending of our own sacred fires, in the offerings we make to the altars of our hearts. For though the great stone temples may crumble, though the bloodlines of priests may fade, the power of ceremony to connect, to transform, to sustain lives on. In every sunrise prayer, in every harvest song, in every moment we pause to remember that we too are part of something vast and ancient and beautiful. So let us carry this wisdom forward, honoring the legacy of those who stood between worlds, between breaths, between the beating hearts of gods and mortals. And as we step away from this tale, let us listen for the whisper of feathers, the clink of jade, the distant beat of sacred drums. For in those echoes we may yet hear the voice of eternity. When a Mayan priest drew his final breath, the people did not say he had died. They said he had entered the sky, in a world woven from spirit and smoke, where stars were ancestors and the wind held memory. A priest's death was not an ending, but a transformation. Let's pause here for a moment. The night grows still, and the veil between worlds thins. Their funerals were unlike any other. The dead priest's body was not hidden away. It was laid upon obsidian and jade, bathed in sacred cacao, and wrapped in woven cotton, Sometimes his tongue was replaced with a green stone, so he might still speak in the afterlife. He would be buried beneath the temple where he served, or, if his rank was high enough, in the side chamber of a pyramid, there, surrounded by the scent of copal and the echo of chants. His soul would journey into Xibalba, the Mayan underworld, but not all entered as victims. The priest knew the path. He had spoken with death countless times. Let's pause here for a moment. The earth softens, and the breath of the buried stirs beneath us. The underworld, Xibalba, was not a place of fire. It was a realm of trials and illusions. Dark rivers, floating stairways, talking skulls. But a priest wise and prepared could walk it without fear. He had fasted, he had bled, he had memorized the glyphs of resurrection, and the songs that opened gates. It was said that the soul of such a priest could ascend past the 9 levels of into the celestial court where the gods themselves sat. There he would become a breath on the wind, a whisper in the fire, a glimmer in the evening star. Let's pause here for a moment. The shadows bow, and the ancestors gather to greet him. His tomb would not be silent for long. Pilgrims would come, students, rulers, seekers. They would leave gifts, maize, feathers, cacao, carved obsidian blades. They would speak to him, believing that though his body was gone, his voice lingered in the stone. In time, the priest would become more than a man. He would become a legend, a spirit, a guardian. His name might be forgotten, but his role lived on. Every time the rains returned, they would say, "He speaks still." Every time a prophecy proved true, they would whisper, "He walks among the stars." Let's pause here for a moment. The sky above brightens with ancestral song, and the past folds into the present. Sometimes, generations later, a new priest would receive a vision. He would dream of a voice chant in an ancient tongue, a glyph drawn in fire, and the elders would nod. They would say, "The Old One calls you." And so the line would continue, through centuries, through empires rising and falling, through jungle growth and silence. The soul of the priest was never truly gone. It lived in the sacred calendar, in the carved codices, in the stars. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we listen not with ears but with spirit. Even today, on moonlit nights in the Orchiopus, you might hear a quiet drumbeat, a whisper of chant in the trees, a scent of copal on the wind, and if you listen closely, you may feel it, the presence of those who once walked between heaven and earth. Not kings, not warriors, but priests, the breath between worlds, the ones who bled to keep the sun rising, the ones who whispered the names of gods long before we named ourselves. Let's pause here for a moment and bow gently in thanks to those forgotten guardians of the flame in the heart of the ancient Mayan world, where time flowed like water and stone breathed with life. The priesthood held a sacred duty. They were the keepers of knowledge, the bridge between the mortal and the divine. Their lives were not their own, but a gift to the gods and the people. From childhood, they were chosen, marked by signs and omens. Let's pause here for a moment. The jungle whispers, and the spirits of the chosen stir. They learned to read the stars, to count the days, to speak with the voices of the ancestors. Their bodies became living calendars, scarred with the passage of time and ritual. In life, they were revered. In death, they became something more. The journey of a Mayan priest did not end with his last breath. It merely changed form, like water turning to mist. Let's pause here for a moment. The air shimmers with unseen presence, and the veil between worlds grows thin. The priest's body, once a vessel for divine wisdom, became a sacred relic. His bones were painted with his skull inlaid with jade. Sometimes the living would consult the dead, seeking guidance from those who had crossed over. They believed that death was not an end, but a doorway to greater understanding. The priest's tomb became a place of power, a nexus where the living and the dead could commune. Let's pause here for a moment. The stones whisper ancient secrets, and the air grows heavy with the weight of centuries. In life, the priest had been a keeper of time. In death, he became timeless. His spirit joined the cosmic dance, moving through the layers of reality. Like a fish through water, it was said that on certain nights, when the moon was full and the air was thick with copal smoke, the dead priests would walk again. They would emerge from their tombs, their jade-studded bones gleaming in the moonlight, to perform the rituals that kept the world in balance. Let's pause here for a moment. The night holds its breath, and the spirits of the ancients draw near. The living priests would prepare for these nights with great care. They would fast and bleed, enter in trance states to commune with their departed brethren. Together, the living and the dead would dance, their movements mirroring the paths of the stars. They would chant in forgotten tongues, their voices echoing through time itself. And as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the dead would return to their rest, leaving behind whispers of wisdom for those who knew how to listen. Let's pause here for a moment. The world awakens, and the boundary between past and present blurs. The legacy of the Mayan priesthood lives on, not just in stone and bone, but in the very fabric of time and space. Their knowledge, their sacrifices, their unwavering dedication to the cosmic order continue to shape the world in unseen ways. For those with eyes to see and ears to hear, the ancient priests still speak. Their voices can be heard in the rustle of leaves, in the pattern of raindrops, in the dance of shadows on temple walls. Let's pause here for a moment and open our hearts to the wisdom of those who came before. In the end, the immortality of the Mayan priesthood was not found in eternal life, but in the eternal cycle of knowledge and sacrifice. They lived and died in service to something greater than themselves, and in doing so, they became part of the very cosmos they sought to understand. Their story is not just history, but a living, breathing testament to the power of faith, the pursuit of wisdom, and the enduring connection between the mortal and the divine. Let's pause here for a final moment and feel the weight of ages past, the whisper of ancient wisdom, and the timeless dance of life and death that continues to this day. The fire has burned low, the drums have fallen silent, and stillness ... now wraps the earth like a warm blanket. You have journeyed far, through jungle temples, sky-cast calendars, bloodied altars and starlit tombs. You have worn the heavy feather sand, felt the sting of obsidian on skin. You have listened as the gods whispered in smoke, and trembled as silence echoed in cave shadows. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and the last coals glow like distant stars. We began, you and I, with sandals worn and hearts heavy. We rose before dawn, as Mayan priests once did, hungry, barefoot, burdened by the weight of the cosmos. You've now seen what it means to carry the sun each day with blood, to speak not for glory, but for survival, to fast and chant and wait for omens, for visions, for forgiveness. This was not a tale of kings, nor of great wars, nor triumph. This was a quiet truth, the truth of breath and bone, of duty and devotion, of how far a soul will go to serve the divine. Let's pause here for a moment. The air grows still, and we rest beneath the stars. Tonight, we remember those whose names were never etched in stone, but whose voices shaped time itself. The priest who disappeared with his city, the scribes who hid the stars in their scrolls, the seekers who walked barefoot into cave mouths, just to whisper to the gods once more. And what remains? Ash, perhaps codices, half-burnt temples swallowed by vines, but also memory and stars and story. Their breath becomes ours, and their quiet becomes our calm. Let's pause here for a moment. The ancestors gather round the fire one last time. So now, my friend, close your eyes. Let the jungle hush cradle you. Let the past settle softly over your shoulders. Let the stars spin above you like an ancient calendar, still marking time. You have walked with a priest. You have heard the gods, and you are not the same. Rest well. Sleep deeply, and if you dream tonight may, the old ones greet you in peace. The night deepens, and the jungle whispers secrets of a world long past, yet ever present. In this sacred moment, we are both witness and inheritor, carrying forward the wisdom of ages. Feel the earth beneath you, solid as the foundations of mighty pyramids. Breathe in the air, thick with the scent of copal incense and wild orchids. You've traced the carvings of serpent gods, deciphered glyphs that speak of cosmic cycles, and stood where kings once bled to feed the sun. Now, as the journey ends, you understand the weight of time, the power of belief, the endurance of spirit. In the silence between heartbeats, listen for the echoes of ancient drums, the chants of long-gone priests, the prayers whispered in forgotten tongues. They are there, in the rustling leaves, in the cry of a distant jaguar, in the very marrow of your bone. This is the gift of the Maya, not just ruins and relics, but a living legacy that pulses with each new dawn. As you prepare to return to your world, know that you carry a piece of this mystery with you, in your dreams, in your memories, in the way you now see the stars. The fire has burned to embers now, and the night sky is a tapestry of constellations, each one a story, a god, a prophecy. Remember this moment, hold it close like a precious jade bead, for in remembering, we keep the old ways alive, we honor those who came before, and we ensure that their wisdom is never truly lost. As the first light of dawn breaks over the tree, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, take one last deep breath of this sacred air. You have been touched by something ancient and profound. You have walked in the footsteps of kings and commoners, of warriors and wise women, and now, as you step back into your own time, you carry their legacy within you, a legacy of resilience, of ingenuity, of looking to the heavens for answer Shwaya, keeping your feet firmly on the earth. So go forth, traveler, share what you have learned. Keep the flame of curiosity burning bright, and remember, always remember, that beneath the stars, we are all connected past, present, and future in an endless cycle of time. End of video. Thank you for listening.